Not yet. Tell me when. It says on air.
Now.
Okay, try it again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an awesome evening. We've got a fun night in store tonight. Jeff Rowley is sitting over to my left right now. He is excited about joining and saying hello and showing a couple, if not multitude, deer hair tying techniques. He's going to be tying his deer hair diver right here. And I need to go live on the old Instagram to make sure everyone knows to come over to YouTube. Hello to Joe and to Steve and Jim and Chris and Jeff Rowley himself. Hello. What's up, Freddie? So it's gonna be a fun night. So I'm not gonna sit and talk too awful long. As far as a schedule for events, one of the cool things that I taught Jeff into doing is he is going to give away this fly that he's going to tie tonight, and we're going to do the same thing we've done the past few weeks. We already have a number written down right here, and we will draw a winner uh, once it gets part of the way through. And it'll be number 1 to 100. So be thinking about that. Once we get the tail tied in, we'll show some pictures of your all's awesome purple darts that we tied last week. They turned out really good, and a lot of you guys put a lot of effort into those. Those are super good. We're looking forward to showing those. And here's one right there.
That
already.
was Madison.
That was Matt. That was the most special one. Our 9-year-old tire, but she's the older one because the one yesterday or last week was 8-year old. So we love seeing everyone tie. But without further ado, we're going to bring here's the fly. I think Katie has it and they're loaded up to show the fly that's in my hand. I'm going to welcome Jeff Rowley on. Everyone give him a round of applause and ask him questions. What's up, Jared and Ken? Ken B, our buddy from Australia, says hello. But everyone asks questions. It's gonna be a fun night, and we'll switch it over. So thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Come on over, Jeff. Sitting in the captain's chair.
All right.
I'll get this whole thing out of the
There
way.
he is.
Hello, everybody. I think I saw a few of you people recently in Tennessee. So, how's everyone doing?
Everybody
Good.
is doing great.
Okay, I got to get my bearings here. I'm not as smooth as
We
John
have
and Katie.
lots of people on tonight. Lots of people commenting, saying that your
Here we
flies
go.
are awesome, and that they also have your shirt.
Joe says he has my shirt.
Yep.
It's my Lucky Fishing shirt. Thank you, Steve. Mike. Okay.
And we got Jared and Jennifer Blazer on from Blazing Outdoors.
The dynamic duo themselves.
Are we ready to boogie?
Yes.
We are
Okay. So, yeah, to fit this into an hour and to do a fly similar to this, we'll have to get going. So we'll talk about the importance of some of the basic tools to do some good deer hair work. And one of the things is what we're starting with is the thread. So GSP obviously is the best to use with deer hair. This style, deer hair stacking, spinning. Simperfly has the new 300 denier thread, and it's awesome. It's so big, and my terms here is like when it is opening and closing my thread, and when it's open, it lays flat here like this. When we have it open, we can apply immense amounts of pressure without cutting our deer hair, and that allows us to sink when we're doing these spots. It allows us to sink this deer hair way down deep so that when we do our trim, we don't cut right through our line. So it allows us to do more colors, and it allows me to handle larger stacks of hair, which increases the density. But let's start before we get to the deer hair, and we're going to do a diver here. We're going to talk about the back of the fly, and so we're going to start building that. One of the first steps that I do to make a more durable fly is I go ahead and get a thread base down all the way across. And then we're going to spin over this thread base. And that allows me to apply a little bit of glue and adhere the deer hair to the shank and make a more durable fly.
So that is 300 denier thread, right?
300 denier, and that sounds pretty intimidating because people are going to think that that we're going to bulk up something, right? And but since we're dealing with nano silk, it still has a smaller diameter and more strength. So so we can still there's a little bit of forgiveness as far as bulking up the fly by using too many wraps, which is when you're beginning, that's just one of the things that we do. As you get more experience, you get more you get to where you can do everything with less wraps. So you get more efficient, I guess is the word. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, efficient.
We had a question from Steve Gates. He wanted to know what your choice for bobbins for this kind of work.
Yeah. So I'm Stonefo. I represent Stonefo. So I'm using this bobbin right here, this adjustable bobbin. So I guess that's my choice. When you have a bobbin like this that you have an adjustable tension on the side, there's a little bit of a learning curve when you're using a bobbin like this, or what's the other one, John and Kate? The right bobbin is the other one that has the adjustable. So you have to go through a little learning curve in using those. But once you spend the time to use it and learn how to use this tension control and how you hold this, then when you first start using, your palm may rub against the tension and it may loosen the tension while you're wrapping. So you have to learn how to hold your bobbin correctly. Anyway, so I'm using this.
I think Wes Penny said hello a couple times. And he said hello to Bill.
Wes,
hello to you.
how you doing? Okay, so when we're doing deer hair flies, one of the things I like to do is put a little bit of extra weight towards the back of the fly, and that helps the fly to function in the water better. We're making a big fly, and we're putting this much deer hair on there. You're going to put a little weight towards the back, and you're not going to sink your fly. It's going to cause the fly to sit this way in the water a little bit. But when we pull, we're going to get better action. More like if you were using a spook, or if you're using like a hidden frog, something like that, and you get a bigger splash also with the weight. Your fly also it's killed, and so that it's going to ride the correct way, the way that you want it, which is in this case would be hooked down. We adjust the weight. If we wanted to hook up, we'd put the weight on there a little bit differently. So I'm going to use hello, Keisha. I'm going to use this lead wire, but you could use a tungsten bead on the back of your fly here if you wanted to do that. So make sure that when you put it on, it just needs to come around the bend of your hook.
Just for that extra weight on the back.
Yep, just for the extra weight to kind of kill your hook, make it ride, hook down. And then I'm doing this upside down. I'm sorry, guys. I'm used to tying that way, so I have to be a little bit more aware that I'm getting filmed here or tying live. So you want to just make sure that this lead is coming down around the turn of the bend. And then you know that you're going to add the extra weight where you want it.
So Mark, Chasing Feathers Fly Company, has been waiting forever to see this. And he's like a lot of us. We really want to do the deer hair, but we're not comfortable. So we want to be able to start and learn a trick or two.
Okay. I'll teach you a few tricks there. First being with this, putting a little bit of weight towards the back of your fly here will help. And like I said, you can use a tungsten bead. When I'm doing the bombers, it's a lot easier. But you can use a bead on these frog style divers too. I'm going to cover this up with this thread and secure these lead wraps right here.
So are you putting thread on both sides of the lead wraps just like you would normally do on the shank?
Yeah, And if you wanted to do a little bit more durable, and we will, you can put you just a little bit of a tap of glue on there, and it'll soak into these GSP threads.
So Big Mess with Messer Branch Outdoors just asked what size wire you're using. And you can just talk about the size wire or the size bead you would use if you're using a bead.
So this is 0.9 millimeter, 0.035, which is pretty big. But that's something that you're going to want to adjust yourself on the weight that you want to put on the back there. So you can put more weight if you need it or less weight.
Did you show the hook and the size hook you're using?
Nope, I didn't. And I'm glad that you're here to remind me of this. We're using the Arex TP615, which is a long shank hook. And that's going to give us a little bit of extra length up here to fit our body on the hook.
Cool.
So now we're going to build the tail. And this is just, there's so many different ways that you can do the tail. And this is just like the way I like to do it. And I like to put a little bucktail down first, because I'm going to use bucktail and I'm going to use marabou. And if I just use marabou in the back, then it would then the marabou would collapse in the water. So we put a little bucktail down first, and we'll flare it out, and then we'll spin our marabou in front of that. And then the bucktail, when it gets wet, the bucktail props up the marabou.
It's a great color.
So yeah, we kind of went with
a little bit of a Tennessee
theme. Yeah.
Fall.
And it really feels like fall over here on the Blue Ridge with the foliage changing.
And John, you said that lead wire was what size again?
0.35 or 0.035.
Yes. Like I said, that's adjustable. If I'm putting a tungsten bead in the back there, I'm usually using probably a 3.5 on the size and weight. And just depending on the size of the fly, that may be way too big for a smaller fly, guys. So you have to start adjusting that way. And it just takes a little bit also to make it work. But you may want to add extra weight to get more of a aggressive splash or a more aggressive walk in the water. So that brush. And
Truman wants to know how late you guys are going to stay up. Time flies tonight. Truman, probably as late as you and John did the last time you were here.
If it's me, it may be pretty late to finish this fly. No, we're going to try to get it done in the time allowed. This tail also is going to have a little bit more function than just looking cool and making leg movement if this imitates a frog. This tail is also going to make a bump here that I'm going to be able to pack up against. Okay. So it's real important that we have this tail really secure, because I'm going to be using, as some of you guys saw me tie that fly in Tennessee, I'm going to be using some pressure.
So Joe's daughter, Bear, says hello.
Hey, Bear.
Okay. I've never got to
Joe.
meet Bear, but I'm sure I will at some time. Hello.
And Gary's on.
Hi.
Gary Barnes.
Hey, Bear. Hey, Joe.
I know him.
Hey, Gary.
So I'm going in here. Can you guys see how much pressure I'm putting on here? It's illegal
if we
to do this.
The vise would break.
Yeah, I don't want to set your alarm off in here.
Serious.
We need to put y'all have safety glasses?
I do.
Okay. We need them.
Katie does.
Okay, so you can see.
They're my Bill Dance sunglasses.
I'm putting some superpower. I don't want this tail moving at all here, because we're going to, like I said, we're going to pack. And when you pack up against them, you want to get it as dense as you've seen me do some of the dense stuff. We're going to pack up against it real hard. And we don't want this letting loose, and it'll just push back around the bend of the shank and messes everything up. So we got that.
We got a guy on here right now that's nickname is Big Mess. So
it's marabou time. Now we're going to palmer some marabou. And I just like using marabou. This is, like I said, there's so many different ways that we can do the back of a fly. Frog legs, Some of you guys want to use feathers. So this isn't this isn't the right way. Use your imagination if you're going to do this and tie this back part however you want. I like to do the marabou because I can adjust so many different colors, and usually I'll use a combination of wrapping a few different colors of marabou, and it just gives a nice color change and catches some fishermen. Because I don't know that the fish really care. So
you're tying in tip first.
Tip first, and then I'll explain this too. And also, like there's a top side and there's a bottom side to marabou. Okay, so and sometimes it's more exaggerated on some marabou. Sometimes it's straighter, but usually you can tell it makes a cup, if you will. When we want this cup, in this case, you may adjust this, but we want everything flowing back towards the back, so we want it cupping in towards the shank of the hook. Does that make sense, what I just said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you want to cut towards the
versus it coming out like this, which then you have it upside down. Which you might want to do that if you, but everything is going to go forward. This right here brushes back. Yes, concave and convex. Yes.
So it's very similar to wrapping a wet fly hackle or a lot of dry fly hackles. You want that shiny side or the cup.
Yeah.
You want the shiny side out.
And some people do it the opposite way, right? Some people prefer to have it go the opposite direction, right? Every now and then you'll see somebody doing that way. I like it to go this way, to kind of go. And when you're doing hackle too, it sure is easier to get your whip finish in.
Well, Ken B from Australia said the hackle looks amazing, but you have to read Gary Barnes' comment because it is quite degrading to John DeMuth and his beard.
Oh, good grief.
Where's the scissors?
Yeah,
fix me up, please. Okay.
So what kind of marabou is that?
This one right here is pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I put it all up, but I do believe it's called Fish Hunter from Nature's Spirit.
Nature's Spirit Fish Hunter. Okay.
John and Katie, when y'all put down marabou, do y'all put a little glue underneath it, or do you like to wrap back over the wraps?
So the way I would have done it is I would have tied it by the tip and then pulled the tip back and folded it over, so I secured it that way. But recently, I've been tying it in from by the butt section.
Okay. But what about? Do you like to wrap it over some glue? So no,
not normally, no.
Okay. So I usually do just a little bit because
try it.
I've had. Great. I know it's a very dangerous move. Because we know what happens when marabou touches glue, right? Mm-hmm. So sparingly kind of is the key right here on using your glue, and then knowing that just a little bit of marabou is going to stick to that glue, and it's okay because there's so much there that it doesn't matter.
And can you hold up that glue in front of the hook?
So I'm using this now. This is the Loctite, and the reason I'm using this with deer hair is because this doesn't instantly bond, and so I can go ahead and spin. Yeah, I can go ahead and spin around with deer hair, and it doesn't instantly seize the deer hair on it. So if you use other types of super glue that instantly dry, that's not the choice here.
So is that the Loctite gel?
Yeah, and it is in gel. It says extreme glue. And so far, like I said, I've had to search because I switched a sponsor and I don't use one of the products I used to use all the time. so I'm searching around finding, and this seems to work pretty good. And this Loctite, it cures up, waterproof also. So
hopefully that piece you put on there is not cured already.
Nope. This stuff takes, I do believe it says it takes a full 24 hours to cure, but it stays pretty wet for a while. But to control my marabou, I like to kind of blow it back, and that kind of might control some of these fibers. But you see, it's going to be kind of messy when you're wrapping marabou. And then we'll just kind of pick it out and brush it out, and it'll look just fine.
And we just switched quickly over. I wanted to make sure that Josh saw his daughter's dart before.
What was her name?
Madison.
So Josh, we saw you chatting on here a second ago.
Do we need to switch back over so you show pictures?
Nope, you're
good.
We're good. You showed all the pictures you needed to?
When you finish the tail, we'll do the pictures.
Okay. So there's that one. And I can see that I have a lot of stuff trapped right here. But see, look at that. Whammy. And then it's all out. And then we're going to go back over my second little color to go over here is going to be some black. And then I like to, you don't have to. And then I like to add a little bit of flash. So we're going to do a little bit of extreme string on there too. So, and I think just one of these, got out two, but I think just one's going to be fine.
I mean, and look how much hook is left. Like, we're not even started yet. Like, this is gonna be a minute, and
I'm gonna hurry.
No, don't hurry. This is great. It's totally different than what I'm used to seeing from.
And John, you just take the marabou and just fold it back.
Fold it back, yep. And then depending on the tip, you can either just pull and break the tip out, you can cut it out, or just leave.
Just leave it because, yeah, I got you.
But folding it over like that typically keeps it from pulling out. Now, if you pull too hard, it will still break, but it keeps it from slipping out.
And on the second one, instead of gluing it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to polymer it and wrap it around here, and then I'm just going to wrap back over the stem just a little bit, and that'll secure it down just fine.
And as you're wrapping, you're kind of taking your fingers to sort of
preening it back just a little bit, yeah.
That's what Davey McPhail says. You're encouraging. Katie loves that.
And so,
you're not forcing. You're encouraging.
Yeah, and it keeps us from trapping so many fibers, right? So
nice.
Then you're going to still comb it back out. I think it's a nice little contrast.
Now we'll put up just a little bit of extreme string, and then we're done with the tail.
And I know that I've showed Madison's fly. And if you're watching, wait, because we got a bunch of purple darts this week that I cannot wait to share. Tons of them. Lots of purple darts.
Okay, for flash, there's obviously so many different things that we can use. But I'm going to use this extreme string. Which just makes it real easy and quick.
So is there a right direction to tie that in?
The extreme string? Mm-hmm. You tell me.
I want to hear yours. Because the fibers are all going one way.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do the same thing. They're sweeping towards the back like this. And that probably would do the same thing as what we were just doing. Mm-hmm. Rather than having a tendency to kind of go this way, it's going to sweep back this direction. So what do you think? Do you think that's right?
If you're going to tie in what you're pinching right there, that's the way I would tie it in. But I really don't think it's one of those things. I don't think it's going to make a hill beans difference for
right
the final product. But
and even with the marabou right here, because we're going to have the skirt from the deer hair is going to kind of come over it now. It would push everything back.
So what is the extreme string?
So this is a Simplify product, extreme string, and it's just kind of a it's a product that allows you to do stuff faster.
It's like a flash.
And it's going to add just a little bit of flash. And what's cool about extreme string is that the way it looks right here versus it's going to look different when we're done because we wrap it, and then when we brush it out, each one of these individual strands is going to turn into, I do believe, about 10 different strands. And so it turns in real pearlescent, if you will. So it looks a little bit more coarse right here. And it just doesn't take very many wraps of this stuff either. So we're going to do 3 wraps. And then not overdoing the flash here. I may overdo the flash, but just in general, most of the time I try not to. There's a few flies that I like to tie that are just flashy, but this is not necessarily one of them. But I do like to add a little bit of flash. And so this extreme string is a way to add a little bit of flash. And
most of that, like you said earlier, is going to get covered up by the deer that you're going to tie in.
Yeah, but you're going to see just a little hint of flash coming through that hair, and that's just enough. Okay.
All right. Well, while you're cleaning that up and getting ready to start stacking some deer, let's turn it over to Katie and let her show some of the pictures of the purple darts that we did last week.
I would love to do that. So we've already shown Madison's, but we'll bring hers up again because it was so good.
So Madison is 9. This is Josh Riston's daughter.
And we also, Catherine sent a trio on Instagram. She figured out how to tag us on the photo, and we found it easily. And it's awesome. Those look great. I love the blue, actually, don't you? Jimmy Root submitted a couple of purple darts and Billy Bugs flies. That's a really cool looking bead. I like that. It's kind of hard looking. And we have Freddy's. Very nice. That's a really good picture. That contrast is awesome, Freddie. Flame Lily Flies sent a whole, they have a whole trio of pictures, and I wanted to put all of them up, but this was my favorite. So if you haven't checked out Flame Lily on Instagram, there's some more photos that were just amazing of this particular fly that I loved.
This is Wes Penny's Flame Lily Flies. It's on with us right now.
Okay, Wes. Awesome pictures. Awesome fly. Loved it. Jared Blazer. And then, did we get one from
Jennifer.
Jennifer?
I don't remember.
No, Jennifer, I missed one that you did. Then get mad at me because I missed it. Jay Wilson, trio, and Chattooga River Fly Shop with the black bead. And finally, Kimby.
Did you get Patrick Smith's?
I thought I did. Well, I'll do it for it.
I'll move your trash can right here.
Was that
Because
one
I
that
maybe
came
don't.
in late?
It came with Catherine's. I think it was just a while ago. I don't know. So, Mike, that is not me getting into Halloween candy. That's Jeff getting all organized over here. So, thanks to everyone for sending in your purple darts. We'd love to see your deer hair work. But if you're not quite ready to jump into a ton of deer hair diver, if you will tag us in anything you've learned this time between now and next Wednesday night, we will we'll share your picture next Wednesday night. Just make sure to tag us in the photograph so we can find the picture on Wednesday.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now it's the time to do the hair. And we're going to do on this one, we're going to kind of go with kind of frog with a Tennessee frog with a little bit of twist of orange in it. So
Just a twist.
Yeah. So what we're going to start with is we're going to do a belly on it that's a different color. So we're going to do a spin right there. So it's going to be spinning and stacking. So we'll start with now. This first stack right here involves the collar, the skirt. I'm sorry, the skirt back here, a collar in the back, if you will. So I usually don't when I'm doing skirts. Now sometimes I do, but most of the times I don't stack the hair. I like it to have kind of a natural blend. So when I get my stack here, and to get density, we're looking at big stacks here, and it takes a while to start learning to control a bigger stack. It just gets slippery. So you're just working on really just tying stuff over and over again, and starting out with a manageable stack, and then every time just increasing it, getting a little bit more and more and more. If you try to go too big when you first start, then you end up having problems, and stuff starts slipping out of your fingers. But I'm able to sit here and hold this with my fingers, a bigger stack, and then be able to brush out the underfur. And that's always important because, and John has done, you did a deer hair whip finish Wednesday where he kind of talked about getting your underfur out of you and why you want to get the underfur out of your hair. And it's just like a sponge. It makes sure it waterlogs your fly. And then also when we're stacking hair and then when we're flaring it out, it holds hair together. So we get a better if you will, the flare. There's nothing that holds it down there. So is that a good word? A flare?
Absolutely.
Can you think of something else
Yeah.
more than that?
And Steve asked, where on the body of the deer is this hair coming from?
So the best hair for stacking and for spinning is your belly hair.
Deer belly.
Yeah, deer belly. But we end up using a lot of body hair too. So I'm going to use a little bit of body also. And so when you're at the shop and you're buying your deer hair, that's the best way, versus ordering it online. Looking at the stuff that's the coarsest is what's going to work the best here. We'll look at our length. That's a good length right there. So we're going to watch right here how I do a half spin, and I'm going to start out with 2 loose, if you will, but yet firm enough to hold this deer hair on the top of the shank, like that right there. So I've got 2 wraps around it. I'm going to continue this on the 3rd wrap, and it's going to start spinning it around. And then when I see bare shank on the bottom, I'm going to put my thumb over the top right here. You can see that right here. Then we're going to pull down and cinch it down. And this makes a platform. Did that look good? This makes a platform that I can build on top of right here. And we want it extra tight too, so that we have a nice durable fly. I may have to get another 300D thread because I'm going to run out of thread on this one.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, Patrick Smith flies, purple darts right here. Found them.
All right, Patrick. We did not get your fly.
That's right.
Thank you, Katie.
Okay.
And I think I've seen a few people ask questions that we haven't answered. So if you ask a question we don't answer, just ask again and we will get to it.
In my green box, there's you'll see it has all my thread in there, and I have a few spools of the hair stacker thread.
Gotcha.
And I pretty much know where it's at. You might have to look through it a little bit too long if you.
I'm so excited to see later tomorrow morning when I come down and you guys are recovering from your fly tying hangover, all the deer hair that's going to be all over the place.
Courtesy of Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Now we're going to go on top to do the top part of the skirt, which is going to be the primary body color of this fly. Just
Special delivery.
Ooh, you found it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, because I'm about to run out of thread, I'm going to go ahead and tie off real quick. This is where I use my Stonefo hair packer. There's so many different ones. This is the loon one right here. Hold it down. Yeah, this is the loon one.
There we go.
And I'm using the Stonefo one, but the Renzetti makes one too. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm going to pack back up against that thread bump. And then we're going to wiggle my hair through.
So how hard are you pushing on that? Because I've done that before and I've literally bent my hook shank.
Yeah, and so that's just part of you tying repetitiously over and over again and learning your tolerances. Because same thing is like we can pull too tight and still, cut through something or material. So, but it is a lot of pressure. And it also that bump at the back that I did, John, that's why I was stressing like how hard you put it down, because like I'm putting so much pressure on it that it allows me to compress more.
So Will Hickman, I know you said it earlier, but since you're on back to the hook, you can show the spool of thread that I just brought over to you. He was asking who makes 300 denier thread.
Okay. And this is Simplify.
Hold it back to the hook. Like right in line with the hook.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Can't miss it. That nano silk.
And just absolutely a game changer. Nano silk in general, but this is
they just came out with 300 denier last year, or was it earlier this year?
Yeah, when we came out with the silly legs and everything like that, it hasn't quite been a year.
That was about this time last year, I thought.
I don't think it's quite been a year, but it's relatively soon.
Yeah.
It's
So I got that pretty tight. I'm going to go ahead and
Gary's like July. We're all well.
Gary would know.
thanks, Gary. He keeps us in line.
And Chris
With the-
Harris says, Gary, put 3 spools of the 300 denier in my cart.
Please.
Yes.
All right.
Poor Favre.
I didn't plan on that happening, running out of, well, I didn't completely run out, but I will run out this 300 denier. If that was something smaller, you'd still get 10 flies out of that
yeah.
right there.
Gosh, yeah.
But because it's this big stuff, then it's going to disappear real quick.
So how do you do this? Like, how do you keep it going?
Well, I finished it off right here, and then I'm just going to go right back over it where I finished it off, and it'll be like nothing ever happened.
Perfect.
So one of the things that I've learned especially with the bigger denier threads with the nano silk, is when you start a spool of thread, especially a brand new one, make sure you get the whole piece of thread out, because there's been a couple times that I've gotten a partial piece, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
You'll ruin your spool if you don't do what John's saying, for sure. It'll end up season up the whole thread. Nano silk is
it's no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke, but it's also like when you buy it, you definitely wouldn't want to ruin your. I mean, the spooling is perfect, so it's going to be a mistake on your part to do something wrong to the. Isn't that right, Gary?
He's nodding his head. He's like, mm-hmm.
Gary just nodded his head. Yeah.
Arms crossed. Mm-hmm.
But basically, what I was trying to explain is when you get the piece of thread, make sure you get the whole piece of thread, because if you get 99% of it and there's one strand, then that one strand will ruin the whole spool.
Yeah, and so I'll demonstrate what John is talking about right here. GSP, and so most of y'all know this, but not everyone knows exactly what I mean by when I say GSP, and that's a whole lot of little tiny threads.
Hold it right with the eye.
Whole lot of little tiny threads, all that are basically spooled together to make one thread. And so if you get one of these threads, I mean, John's talking about one of these little tiny threads gets bound down there, and you're gonna do this. Right there is going to happen on your whole spool, and it ruins your spool. So,
okay.
Great advice. Okay, now we're going to start doing our first spot. So again, what I want to do is kind of make that platform, and we're going to spin the yellow to the bottom. You want to move your thread out in front, and then we're going to push it back so that you have room to work here. So my thread would be right up against where the stack ends right here. You're going to go ahead and move your thread out in front, okay, a little bit, so that we put our stack out here. It makes it easier than trying to stack up against this bunch. And then we're going to use our packer and slide it back up against it. I'm from Texas, guys, so if sometimes when I explain things, if they can't understand my dialect or something, help me out here. Tennessee is.
What did you need?
Well, and when I'm talking here, I have my Texas way of talking. If you know they can't understand what I'm saying, you'll have to translate for me.
Oh, you got it. I mean,
because I know people from Tennessee. You're pretty close to people from Texas.
Yeah.
On the accent. I should be doing this up here so you can see. I'm just cleaning this under fur out.
Well, Ken, have fun at work.
Is Ken done?
Yeah, Ken's got to go to work over in Australia. We got him down for 43, and we'll do the drawing here in just about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, don't send us your numbers yet.
No.
Because I'm not ready to write them down yet. I'll tell you when. It'll be a number between 1 and 100, so you can be thinking about it.
Okay, spun that to the bottom just like we did before. Sometimes when you spin, you can get some trapped hair, so it's good to go in just like this and kind of loosen things so you don't have to do it at the end after you have it completely stacked. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a problem. You know, on the top right here, when you have bare shank in your spin, that you've got it all the way down to the bottom. All right. And then we use our thumb with some pretty aggressive pressure to push it down.
So
I'm gonna,
are you putting your thumb on the top of the hook shank and then your pointer finger on the bottom of the hook shank?
my pointer finger automatically comes up underneath the eye.
Yep.
And so that's a great technique to start doing that because it gives you reference as to whether you have straight to, and then also it just gives you some leverage to push down with my thumb, up with my finger on the eye. So you can see that. So you guys might start practicing that whenever you're stacking. Now we're going to come in over the top, and I'm going to show you how we start the basis for doing a spot. To make your spots nice and round, all right, like this, you're going to have to use big stacks, and otherwise your spots kind of turn more into ovals, and that's fine because they have to have something to support it up. Otherwise, they'll collapse into the layer that you have underneath it. So I'm going to do a pretty fat stack right here of the orange. And then I'll show you how we prep it and how we make what we call the divot area where we're going to put in the spot. And this will kind of, with you guys seeing me, I guess you guys saw me do a mouse at the show, so I wasn't doing any spots. This is a little bit more intense.
Hey Jeff, Chris Harris asked what size hook that is.
This is a 2-aught, Chris.
So it's a 2-aught Arex TP 615.
Yes.
Which is the long shank trout predator hook.
So now I'm going to come in, get this stack going here. And we're stacking now. We're no spinning. We're going to keep this on the top. And then I'm going to take my thumb and put it over the top right here after I got it nice and secure. And then I'm going to cinch down. And by keeping my thumb right here in the middle, we're going to make this funnel depression, if you will. That can you see it there? Does that show up right there?
Yeah.
And that's when it's nice and thick and it makes this divot, then you know that you got a nice place to start building your rings up in there.
So you're not cutting your
tips
of the
you can if you want, and obviously on the back, but all these tips are going to go off. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I secure my deer hair pretty much in the middle, so I have about as much folding back, so in the middle, so that I have enough to carve the head out of, and build the body out of. If you end up like doing it like in the 75%, you're going to have one side be too short, and it's going to end up affecting your body down the line. You're going to have like some holes in your body, or you might have to go down way shallower.
What you're saying is, when you say 75%, are you talking about where you're actually tying?
You want to get it pretty close to the middle of your hair. And sometimes, if anything, you want to go closer to the butt ends because it starts getting more hollow there, and it just builds a thicker body, whereas your tips get thinner. So if anything, do it like 60%, and the 60% part will be going over towards the tips. I mean, towards the butt ends. I'm sorry. Does that make sense? What I just said? It makes sense to me.
The way I kind of look at it is, and you're the master, but the lower you get down towards the base of the hair, the thicker it is. The thicker it is, the more it's going to fold up.
Yes.
And so I'll typically go closer to the butt ends, but that's why I was curious to see what you would say, whether it should be halfway. Because I usually cut the tips off and then shoot for roughly halfway, which would make it more like a third from the butts.
You just gotta have to keep in mind how what you're gonna be carving into this, right? And so you have to build up enough material to carve into. And so, like I said, if you short it on one side, then like I said, you may not be able to cut down into and get dents.
Josh, if you're still with us, sorry you got to get up at 0300. Good luck at work, and we look forward to seeing more of your daughter's tying abilities. It brightens Katie and I's day when we see it.
Now we're going in with the black ring.
So now this is not going to be a black dot. This is going to be like the ring. Once you finish putting that in, maybe you can hold up the fly
Sure.
and show exactly what this piece is going to be. So you're doing the same. Put your thumb on top, pull down the thread to keep it kind of spread out.
And the same thing, I want that. Now it's supported real nice, so I'm getting a real nice divot. So you can see it up there. But like this right here where you see the yellow, the yellow, they got it right there, John, where you can see it.
Perfect.
So we're doing these rings around there. Now we're going to fill this black up with chartreuse now. And again, I'm using pretty big stacks here.
So once you cut that off, once you show roughly how big that is to this side camera.
Yeah. Tell me where, do I have it right?
Yep, you got it. Maybe
Can you guys see
bit.
it?
Yep.
There we go. So it's a pretty big stack. You hold on to it tight because when you're doing these under hairs, if you don't hold on to it tight, you'll just pull your hair out with your brush. So, like I said, you got to kind of start with those smaller stacks and then get a little bit bigger, and you'll kind of know you'll realize when you bit off a little bit more than you can chew. But eventually, with enough practice, and really, I guess you're kind of building up the strength in your. So if you make me mad and I have to pinch you, I can pinch you pretty hard because I've been working out my thumbs, my pinchers for quite a while now.
Them pinchers are getting strong.
Yes. So here we go. Let's fill this hole up. And at this point, I'm gonna kind of grab from the bottom right here, find the shank, and I'm gonna pull, kind of support it, and pull down and pinch.
So this is going to be the middle of the dot.
Mm-hmm. You can kind of pull back with your fingers a little bit. I'm making sure it's getting sinking down in there real deep. And then I'm going to work my thread through in front of this stack, and a few wraps that are kind of tight right there to make sure it holds it in place and everything down. And then we're going to pack back.
Pack it hard.
Yeah, make sure that we have enough space to do everything we want to do. We're good on space here. After you get it packed back where you want it, we're going to pull down again with some immense pressure. And then we're going to come around and get some nice wraps up real close to this, and that's going to hold it in place. This right here at this point too, also your spots are kind of adjustable. You can, if our spots end up being, they're not straight, then this little section right here, we have a little bit of leeway to move it. So like a Rubik's Cube, when we're done with our fly, we may want to kind of twist it here and twist it there to make sure that our spots align.
So, dumb question. How do you know if your spots are not aligned?
Well, what I like to do is I like to do a very shallow trim, and then you can kind of see. You can kind of see where your lines are. It's really hard when it's like this, and then you can kind of see, and then you'll go, oh, this spot's crooked, so I'll twist this one. And it's amazing. After I do these stacks, everything's stacked on top of each other. If I twist this section, these two in the front, they'll stay still. And if I twist the one in the middle, the ones in front of it and back of it, so you can kind of like work it almost like a Rubik's Cube, if you will, to straighten things out.
So you just do like a small kind of trim first.
Yeah, just to kind of orient yourself, and on you never want to do that bottom cut too deep, because if you do your bottom cut too deep, that's it. Your spots are stuck where they're at. Chris Adams, he's one of my deer hair heroes, and a lot of you guys know who Chris Adams is. He has some videos that kind of that go into basically doing that, aligning your spots, and I would recommend his videos to anyone. So now we're going to do this again. We're going to go yellow, spin it to the bottom, How am I doing on time?
You're doing good.
Am I doing all right?
Yeah, you're doing really well.
We're about 45 minutes or so in so far.
And now might be a good time for
the drawing?
Yeah, for everybody to start sending me your number, and I'm gonna write them down. Before the show started, I put the number between 1 and 100 on a post-it note, which Jeff has had in his possession this whole time. So if you would like to be entered into the drawing tonight
to win the fly that Jeff's working
to win Jeff's fly, go ahead right now and put a number between 1 and 100.
I should have won that one or something, because that one needs to be hanging on the wall. Maybe we'll try another one. So here come all the numbers.
Good luck, guys.
So what are you doing now, Jeff?
Same thing. Now we just repeat the same process that I did before. I'm spinning the yellow to the bottom. So you got to kind of do it out a little bit from the stack that you did before, and then we're going to press it back. So, you got to just move your thread forward a little bit, a few wraps going, towards the eye. So you give yourself room to do all this over again.
So now you're going to put the stack of orange on top.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I would say the top primary color, if you will. So yeah, we talked about belly hair is the best, the type of hair to use. That's important. The type of thread. Getting this under fur out. So those are some good keys that if everyone does, you're going to make everything a little bit easier. And then, so yeah, learning to do deer hair takes a lot of practice. So it's going to take a little bit of diligence, you guys. And, you can't get frustrated and stop whenever you mess up. You have to stick with it.
And speaking of diligence, if you haven't gotten your number in 1 through 100 to win this fly, get your number in, because Katie's writing them all down now. I haven't checked recently, Steve. What are we up to now? So Gary Barnes just asked, what do you do to put a thin band of color?
A thin
band of color.
Yeah, it's just all size of these stacks. So we're doing a little bit more simple now, Gary. Like on some of these other ones, I've done numerous, but just for time, I'm doing less stacks. So this one obviously has more stacks in it. Yeah, it's just the size, and so I have it down to where I have the amounts. I'm not having to use like a material holder like what you have over, but it's good sometimes to have a material holder. And if you go ahead and go and then stack out, like cut out every bit of your hair and put it in a holder, and then you can look at it and you can see that you have uniform amounts of hair for your rings. You may want to do it a little bit less for the rings, like what Gary is alluding to, like how much you use. But if you don't stack everything out and you can't remember exactly how much you're using, you're going to have misproportioned spots. Did that make sense, what I just said right there?
Yeah.
So, this looks really bushy.
If you wanted a ring all the way around, could you just spin? Like if you want a black ring that went all the way around, could you just spin?
That's exactly how I do that on those. And that's the deal, is you really can't. There is kind of a stacking technique to where you can get the stack and then push it down around the shank or on the stack, and that kind of uniformly puts the deer hair around the shank. But a spin is ultimately the best thing. But the only thing about doing spins is that you have to practice it. It takes a lot of diligence and a lot of repetition in order to start getting your spots straight. Joe Jackson knows all about that.
And
For sure.
Steve Yates asked, "Where do I go and buy your flies?"
Yeah, I don't
Who
sell
sells
flies. I probably and you know in the future I may, but so yeah, sorry, dude.
Okay, last chance
Win
for
it.
a number.
you can win this one.
Yeah, you can win this one. And speaking of winning, Katie said last chance to put your number in. We got Will Hickman's number 54 is the last one we've gotten so far.
And some of you guys put a number 2 times. So I'm going to go with the second one you put in.
So Steve asked that right about buying my flies.
Yep.
Steve, so I'm usually doing flies for fundraisers, for you know, I'll send them out to cancer people going through cancer survivors, and then I'm usually handing out my flies to my friends and stuff, and that's about it. I just can't. I can't. If I do it, then I have to just do it, and then I can't keep up with it. All right.
Did John Christopher get a fly today?
No, he left without getting a fly, but he got some. He got some football lessons in your front yard.
Sure did. All right, so that's going to be a spot, or is that going to be a?
This is going to be a spot. So we're doing the second spot, and then we're going to do an inverted spot on the nose like this one instead of doing 3 straight up spots. And so I have the black ring again like that. And you know, every time I tie with deer hair, almost every time, I seem to think of Joe Jackson. You know, so he is just a deer hair master, and I'm glad he's on here watching me. And I tied one time with Joe. We're going to do it again in the future. There's a lot to learn from Joe, and there's a lot more I need to learn from Joe. Okay, now we're filling this up with a fairly hefty amount of chartreuse.
So big piece of chartreuse to
Yep.
blow that up.
And I got some black hair trapped up in this one, and there's really nothing I can do unless I start over. So it's just going to have a few little black specks in the spot.
I think you need to start over.
So whoever wins this fly, I owe you a discount or something, right?
They'll just pay half price.
Yeah. So I kind of move this up, and obviously now you see I'm packed up pretty close to the eye right here.
There's a compliment from Joe himself.
Whatever, Joe, but I sure do learn a lot from everyone. That's for sure. Now look, I'm going to pack back really hard now, and if I was loose on this tail piece, it's going to pop. It would pop back over the tail. Another thing is you take your finger and pinch from behind here too. All right. Don't ruin your tail. So I'm kind of feeling right inside there and making sure I get in a nice spot. And then I'm going to.
You're grabbing the hook bend.
Yeah, right at the bend. And like I said, I'm trying not to damage my tail too much, which you can always straighten stuff out. And I'm really packing back. Now, another thing that I told everyone, and I'm experienced at doing this, but one thing you might also do. So here's another helpful hint: is you might get a piece of cork. What's another good material? A piece of cork or something to put on your hook tip when you're dealing with these big. Because if you slip when you're putting as much pressure as I'm doing, and your thumb goes into the hook,
not good.
Not good at all. And so I've done it a few times over the years, and luckily I've never got it in past the barb. And if you did, you would have you're going to be hooked to your vise.
You'd be hooked to fly tying.
Mm-hmm. Now I have enough on the nose right here to get in a inverted spot. We made some really big stacks here, guys.
It's going to be so tight.
Yep, but we're going to get it.
So I think that I am ready. I think I've gone through all the numbers, and we don't have any duplicate numbers. And again, if you put 2 numbers on there, I'm assuming you meant the second one. If you put a number that's
We'll put you on.
if you put a number that's bigger than 100 on there, Chris and
They were saying how many subscribers we have, the 917.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm assuming that was not the one that you wanted.
Show them all the ones you've been writing, all the hard work you've been doing. So Jeff, before if you can, you can either put that stack on, but you can go ahead and grab the sheet of paper
Sure.
and announce the winner.
Woohoo! So, are you ready?
Yes.
So I have the winner here,
Let's do that.
and drum roll, please.
No, what is the number?
It is.
Put it in front of the vice.
I'll make sure I'm holding it right because that only is good. It is 23.
Bring it on down.
Michael Jordan.
23. Let me look at my bingo cards here. Okay.
Make the bingo.
23. My card number 1 does not have a 23 on it. Card number 2, no 23s. Card number 3, no 23s. Card number 4 has a 23 on it. Looks like Ruby Tuesday. Maybe?
Ooh, somebody the
Ruby Tuesday.
Jordan fan.
Let's see. There it is. It's Ruby Tuesday 11. So Ruby Tuesday 11, you are the winner of Jeff's fly because you picked the exact number.
So they need to
That's
send us an
you,
email.
Ruby.
That's right. So Ruby Tuesday 11, I'm put your name right here. It's R-E-U
All right, go say hey to Jeff.
Hi, Misha. Come over here.
11, and you need to email us or send us a message on Instagram your mailing address where you would like for us to mail you this fly, and we will send it straight away.
Over here.
And our email
Hi.
address is
You jumped on me later.
demuseflyfishing@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at demuth_flyfishing. So there you go. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And now Jeff don't get nervous because you've got another guest with you.
Okay,
don't
but
you?
hold on.
I hope I don't ruin this fly
hold
now.
on. Wait, I want to be sure that just in case Ruby Tuesdays disappeared, that we have a second place
Okay.
receiver. So I'm going to look to see if we got a 22 or a 24.
Okay.
No. You cannot have my hooks. You cannot have my deer hair. You cannot have that. You can sniff me.
Misha is enjoying the deer hair over here.
Okay, now I'm going to do a full spin right here.
Oh, okay. Ruby Tuesday's here. Thank you so much. They're going to
Yeah.
send a message. Okay, awesome.
So now we're going to do
Congratulations.
full spins, just like what John was talking about, and what Gary or you were talking about, John, about doing a ring all the way around.
Yep.
So we need to do a full spin right here. Basically the same thing as my half spin, except we're going to keep on. Tension control on your spins is important. If you go too tight, then you seize it up and you don't get the full spin.
So you got
So-
2 wraps on there right now.
Yeah, just to hold it in place right here. And it's definitely loose, but yet, like I said, firm enough to hold your deer hair in place like that right there. And then on your third wrap, we want to just start continuing the spin right here. You see how it's spinning around? And usually by the time if you do it, it just takes a little bit of practice when you see it, but it's kind of tension control there. So you may not do it the first few times, right? You might nail it. You may have to do it a few times until you can figure it out. Now, another way is if I see it's kind of lopsided right here, when I'm packing back right here, I can kind of twist it, all right, a little bit more with my packer. Do you ever do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to kind of even the hair out. Now, I got it back just a little bit. I want to wiggle my thread through and just get it in front. You don't worry too much about trapped hairs at this point, all right?
So when you do trap one, you pull tight, it just breaks off, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or it just folds back when I'm pushing it back right here, so it really doesn't matter. That's one of those things like when you're wrapping, like what you tell when you're doing stimulators and you wrap over, and you just don't think twice about wrapping your wire.
Yeah.
Over those times. You just do it.
Yeah. So Will Hickman just said his spots always migrate to the side by the time he finishes his fly. He's putting as much thread pressure as he can. Any ideas what he's doing wrong?
Yeah, that still happens to me. This fly that I gave John right here, but the spots end up being the straight. But look on the bottom. Yeah, look on the bottom. You see how it's not exactly straight, and that's just the pressure that you're using. But on the spots, who was it? Will.
Mm-hmm.
Will, I would say that maybe you're just gonna have to start. When I was talking about spinning to the bottom, using big stacks and giving yourself something to prop up on the bottom right there, that may be something that might help. Is just using a little bit more, getting more deer hair underneath your spots, because then they really don't have anywhere to go. And like I said, if it's too loose, then the deer hair is going to fill those loose spots when you put pressure on it. That makes sense. And then, like I said, then you can kind of straighten your spot up. I hope that helped. You can send me a message, Will, anytime if you're having problems, and trust me, I'll get back with you. So now we're going to continue this spot pattern. I've got the orange down. Now I'm going to spin black, and then we'll spin chartreuse. And look here, John. It doesn't look like I can get two more stacks on that.
I was going to reach in there and see.
But you really want to. You don't want to. You really want to have stuff like coming forward, like that's. Otherwise, you're not gonna have a dense nose. All right. So this is really hard. I'm not gonna lie that this part, to do it like this part is pretty tough. It takes some practice. Kind of goes up. Like I said, the more practice, your density gets. You learn to control those big stacks and stuff, so your flies are going to get denser and denser. But you can't start out just doing gigantic stacks. You got to kind of work your way up.
Okay. So your deer hair bundles right now are getting smaller.
Yeah, they're a little bit smaller now, up on the nose here. And honestly, my back circle, because you're in the back here and you're not cutting down as deep, I put a little bit heavier stack in the very back circle, because I want to keep that density. Now this part, it does get tough right here, getting your line hooked through here to do the spin.
So you put a couple wraps and then you let go and spin.
Yeah, and you have to make sure, and right there, it seized up on me just a little bit, so I'm going to use my packer just to help it a little bit. And then I've got some orange hairs that crept up inside there, but I'm just going with it. It's going to look cool, but we're going to have a few specks here and there, a few freckles, if you will. It's character. And then I'm going to pack back really hard because I've got to get a chartreuse spin up here, and this is going to be tight.
Well, Chris says he likes freckles, so that's just fine.
Okay.
So back to the cleaning, and that's one of the things that you're showing is how much time and preparation in each little stack that you're spending. That's just so important.
And let's see if we can do this.
So you just kind of hook your thread under that eye.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have much thread out.
Nope, keeping it. And I'm having problems here, but we're going to get it. Well, I just wasted that stack, didn't I?
It happens. While you're cutting out the new stack, Shannon Messer asked what brand of packer are you using. I know it's a Stonefo, but do you use different sizes for different style bugs?
Yeah. So this only goes up to about this 2/0 size eye, and then I have to switch to a clamp style.
So
The clamp style. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, I've got.
Yeah. So these are great for small flies. This has a for a smaller hole right here for the smaller eyes, and then it goes up to a bigger one right there. You got you one of those green ones? Okay.
I can find them. Pretty sure it's in the one that won't open up. There it goes. There's a package for it.
Yep.
There's the two sizes.
There you go. So yeah, so you go to a clamp style like this whenever you get into bigger stuff, or sometimes you have to use a clamp, like when you're using, like if you have like for instance on a bomber, because I pack bombers sometimes too. Bombers you have to put in the calf tail first, so you can't pack back over that calf tail.
That one looks good.
It does, boy. It's hard to get it. There it goes. Finally, we got it. We're gonna have to coerce it to spin a little bit here because it's so dense.
It's looking good.
Now you can use, what would you do here? Would you do a hand whipping?
I've seen you do it, and you like using the whip finisher.
I like using the whip
I've
finisher.
tried to use a whip finisher, but
Yeah.
that's just because that's what I'm more comfortable with.
So it's really hard when you pack this tight to use your whip finisher, but I still like doing it, and I've done it so many times that it's just not easy. So so at this point, if you want to use a hand whip finish, it would be easier. So do so, however you want to finish it. But it's very important to get in a good whip finish or a half hitch on this to secure what you just did, all that work. And this part is pretty tricky. And you just trap some hairs.
So that was a 2 turn.
Just 2, the first one, because I like to put more than one just to get it.
So you got just a quick placeholder in there right now. And the way Mark with Chasing Feathers, the way he stopped and undid it, like if you're not happy with something, that's probably the biggest thing as far as doing this style of fly is stop and undo it. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons Jeff doesn't sell these things, because you spend so much time on them.
I don't want to charge people $50 for a fly.
So Ruby Tuesday 11 just asked, what size fly rod, what weight fly rod would you?
When I'm mostly bass fishing, I'm using my 8 weight, and so these are a little bit lighter than what you might think, but they're still a heavy fly compared to what you've been throwing. So, but
they don't soak up much water, so they're it's not like a regular streamer that gets super lot heavier. Just show one of these fugly packers how it would work. So
yeah, these right here, and you clamp them up over the eye right here like this, and then you have a nice handle. These little bumps right here, so you can push up against them too. But It has a little groove right in the end. Can we see it
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Little groove that fits around your eye, or fits onto your shank, if you will. Then I press back. Mm-hmm.
And I believe those, I don't believe it. They come in two different sizes. You've got
Two
them
different
right there.
sizes. So I was just using the small one right here. Pat Cohen and Chris Adams got permission to make them too. So Chris Adams makes them because they couldn't get them over in Australia. Now, this is a good time to pick out to run your brush through your fly.
So Katie just switched the camera angle. You guys are gonna love this new camera angle. Katie's there. You go. Look at that.
Well, it's getting big. It is big. It's outgrown. It's outgrown. Yeah.
That's what she said.
So we're gonna have some trapped hairs when you're doing something like this. But this is one good way to go ahead and get some of them done out, is to run the brush through everything. Now, we're not doing this right now. And I'm not going to completely finish this. We may do a separate video on doing the eyes and doing the rubber. I'm going to do a crude cut, if you will, and so you'll get the basic idea of what it is. But I can kind of see where my spots are right here.
And Jeff, we still have 42 people that are watching right this second.
Holy
So
cow.
as long as we've got 40 or 50 people watching, we'll just keep on cutting away.
Keep on trucking. Okay, so it's almost time to do. I can see. You can come over here and look, John. You can kind of see the orientation of these spots, and so they're fairly straight.
Yep.
Right now. They're not perfect. It looks like this one might be, but here's well, we zoom in and so we can see this. I'll show you how we can kind of move these just a little bit, if y'all can see. All right, yeah, that's a good angle right there. And so you see these spots. I can move. See, I'm moving that back spot.
Switch over to back to the hook.
And then I can move this. I can move this front spot just a little bit. So and so they're fairly close to start with. But if we had to move them a millimeter this way, a millimeter that way to get these spots perfect, we can do it. So let's do some cutting.
So what kind of razor blades do you
These
like?
are real cheap ones. And so this is the Parker, and I bought them because you can get them. You could get a bulk, bulk razors. These are very thin, so that's the negative part. They're real thin, but they're very sharp, but they dull so quick. But I go through so much of them. I buy them in bulk, so I can just when it gets dull. So I may use three of these razor blades for
on one fly?
Yeah, they're that thin. These are real thin guys, but they're pretty cool because they're really bendy. So what I'm going to do right here is I am going to go ahead and do the belly cut, but I'm not going in as deep. Like I'm not going in with a I said it at the last time, a Clark Pierce type of a sweep, which is basically he does it one time and then it's done. I'm going to go with a little bit of forgiveness, so in case I need to adjust things, I have I have the ability to do that and still be able to cut a flat bottom. And you don't want to come all the way back too far because you did your skirt also. And I can already tell I have trapped hairs, that I'm going to have to pick out. This is kind of part of the deal. That's all right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very light, not go as deep, and this will kind of tell me if I've got my spot straight up here.
So Jeff, Jimmy
Sure.
Root asked us a minute ago, the comment's gone, but he said that he watched you and Joe tie live a while back. And
Yes.
You all talked about steaming the deer hair.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking if you could explain a little bit what you
Sure. Well, let's talk about that. And so my little term for it, and I made this up, okay, is called conditioning your hair. And so when you guys have put together a deer hair fly, I know, whether it's small, any type of fly, I know that once you get it on the water, you notice that your fly kind of morphs and it changes and it kind of puffs out, right? And so all deer hair will do that. So what we do is a little, so deer hair is hollow, but there's something inside the deer hair and inside the shank. It almost looks like styrofoam. And so that when we press real hard, it gets crushed or it gets bent. But when heat hits that membrane that's inside the hair, it puffs it back out. And so that's why we use steam, is that everything that I smashed and that I crushed, if I put steam over it or just heat with a mat or a lighter, you have to be careful of that because you can catch your fly on fire. But just some heat over it will puff that membrane back out. All right. And so all that puffing out of that membrane stuff will happen on the water when you fish with it. If you go ahead and do it, you're going to notice after you've done your trim, you're going to see some hair stick up and uneven. And you do one more trim and your hair is conditioned. And
we'll ask, do you steam before you trim?
Yeah. So I usually steam. So if I don't have access to steam, I'll just use a lighter and I'll just burn the outside of the hair too, and it'll do the same thing.
No, that's before you trim anything.
Well, I like to do a little trim first to kind of see where I'm at. Then I'll go to the steamer. We're not going to do that right now. We may, before I do my final trim, we may steam it, but we're not going to do it right now. But just so you know that I do that to condition it and harden up this, and it just puffs it out and it fills up a lot of that. It makes a denser hair, so it fills up all that empty space. Now then, what I like to do, and you have the curved scissors right here, get you some curved scissors, and then so that we don't cut back into our skirt, I'm going to kind of find where my skirt starts right here, and I'm going to make a little cut right here along the edge of the skirt. And this makes it nice and easy so I don't cut back with my razor into my skirt.
You can kind of slide up underneath there.
Yeah, slide up underneath, and then it just gives you a visual line that you can see so that you don't trim back into,
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if you want to, and you can just use your scissors and then do your final trim with your razor. Okay. So we already have kind of a basic shape of this fly right here, right there. So, and my lines turned out all right. Yeah, it turned out right.
Yeah.
As I get down in deeper and deeper now, you're going to see that this fly is going to look better and better. And so I'm looking at the top, kind of looking to see if I have my spot straight. I think this back one needs a twist just a little bit. And if I went ahead and just did it like this, it's good enough. It's never perfect, guys. So don't sit there and waste all your time on trying to get things perfect. Just do the best you can. Okay.
That's so satisfying watching you do that.
Yeah,
This
is.
cool.
So you can see a few my little freckles that we got inside here, but it still looks great. So.
Chris loves freckles. He's still watching. He's a freckle kind of guy.
As I'm standing behind Jeff, like with a little like dustpan
and. Now we can start getting deep. Okay, guys. I didn't talk about this first, about the importance of mounting your hook. And I should have done that when we started. When you align your hook right here, it's really, so the way I'm trimming, I know that my shank is straight. You got to make sure that when you mount your hook that your shank is coming across straight. And then you got to make sure that you have it in your vise tight enough that when I did all that pressure, that I didn't loosen and jut because if you don't, that'll happen.
So say that again.
So when I put all that pressure on there, sometimes your hook is you didn't get your vise tight enough on your hook, and it's gonna actually move your hook either up or down, and then it's gonna be misaligned with all that pressure. I want it nice and straight so that I know when I'm sliding my razor back straight that I'm not gonna, if my hook shank was like this, I come back through and I'll hit the hook shank and I'll hit the threads and then it blows the hole. And when you put as much pressure as I've done, it literally blows up when this happens.
It explodes.
It explodes. So orientation of your shank and making sure it's nice and straight will really help you when you're doing your trims, if that makes sense. Granted, then you've got to have orientation with your hand, your cutting hand. You got to make sure that you're cutting nice and straight. I usually use my vise as reference. My little handle back here on my Stonefo, when it's straight down like this right here, I know that's the bottom of the fly. When it's up right here, I know that this, vice versa. I just have reference to where everything is.
Well, Jimmy Root said, I believe it's Jimmy, said that he's trimmed on a deer hair fly to where there's nothing left. And I can attest to that. I don't do this, but I have definitely trimmed a little off one side, then a little off the other side, then go back to the other side, then go back. At some point, and you're not close to that there, but at some point you got to just stop.
Yeah,
Yep.
like take periodic breaks and sit back for a minute and get a good look at it.
Yeah, and I will say once you start learning how to get stuff denser and denser and denser, it makes it a little bit more forgiving on your trims, a little bit easier. So
what was that you just did?
I just used my whip finisher to the point because I couldn't find this, but I can tell that I have some trapped hairs. Your trapped hairs make lines on your body, so I can tell I've got some trapped hairs there. Can you zoom in and see this?
Yep.
Right there. Now watch when I pull this out. You see all those hairs that were trapped, and now that line just kind of disappears now. And actually, one of the freckles just disappeared there. Darn it!
Sorry, Chris.
But there's some more on the bottom right there.
That's a good angle. If you can angle it towards the camera a little bit when you do that.
Yeah. And so I think I'm getting most of them out. As I get down a little bit deeper, I may find a few more trapped hairs. That's another thing, like right there. Steam will fix some of these little flaws, what we call flaws here, I guess. Now, I'm not making a mess.
No. He's got a little box there catching 50% of it.
Yeah, it's catching it all.
Where's the emoji where they're going? People who are OCD and clean freaks, they can't.
Oh, no.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
It's nice watching it just fly off of that head. Oh, look at his fingers.
It's like confetti.
It's fall colors on my fingers, isn't it?
Ooh, nice.
Pretty straight.
It's looking good.
Yes, Freddie says that I need a downdraft dust collector. So will you please go get me one of those, please?
Fruity Pebbles dust. Gary might get the award for most creative name. Gary's good with his naming schemes sometimes. Really
now, Gary told me a story about how he made a vacuum cleaning device that would suck up the hair as it fell as he was trimming it.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yeah, fancy Gary.
Hello to Mama Angler's boys.
Oh, is James and Wes out there? Hello, guys. We're going to tie online with those guys at some point. I'm going to do a session with James and then Wes in the future. It's happening. I'm going to tie with Keisha and Chris too at some point too. So
YouTube is really nice because you can get a lot better quality and the way to archive is a lot better. But we still have yet to find a good way to have a guest tire on with us other than just like this.
Right.
So trimming it around the eye, you like using scissors versus
Yeah, and I brought my little burner. Sometimes I'll use my burner, or I'll just take my lighter and just pull it up to this right here.
There's a burner right here. Top drawer. You got a burner.
Right here.
Should be one somewhere there. There you go.
So yeah, and you can use your burner.
Oh, pulling out the spectacles.
Be careful with your burners, guys.
Yeah, it's a good way to really mess up your work. And when you burn the deer hair, it turns black, you can scrape the black off, correct?
Yeah, you can just kind of rub it with your finger or with a brush, and it'll take it off. We're still going to do some more trimming, but I'm just going to get the basic trim, and then we'll be done with this guy. He's basically almost done. And so when I do my eyes, I like to cut the holes that I put my eyes into, because it'll keep your eyes on a little bit longer, because just one tooth from a fish knocks those eyes off, pulls them off. But we'll do a separate video on that. So I'm usually like doing a little template, maybe setting the eye up there on the side, and then kind of using my burner to go around the edge, and then I have a line where it's supposed to be, and then I'll just kind of burn it out a little bit, and then I'll clean it up with my razor. And it takes a little while to get the hole there for your eyes, but you don't have to do that. You could just you just glue your eye straight on it.
And we had a couple questions about the tools. Are those are Renomed scissors?
Yes.
And what kind of burner tool, Nan would like to know, do you use?
Okay, can you replace the battery on this one, John?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So there's some out there that you can order that are disposable, and I think most of the ones that are actually just maybe medical ones. I think
that came from this is a hairline product.
Okay, this is a hairline one. Okay. So the one that I have is different from this one, Keisha. Nan, I'm sorry, Nan. So John says this one's hairline.
This one came from a fly shop. I can't.
But I recommend finding one that you can that you can open up. The disposable ones, they die, and then you have to buy another one. You're going to save money by getting ones that you can change the battery on. So pay attention to that when you buy one.
All right, so just as a quick schedule announcement, and I hope everyone can hear. So Jeff's going to finish up the trimming here, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to film him putting the eyes and the legs on this, and we'll post that probably the beginning of the week next week, or as soon as we get it done editing.
So we're going to film the after party.
So we're going to film the after party and post that as a separate non-live video. So if you have any questions or anything, ask your questions now. And Mama Angler said Fly Fish Food has some of the cauterizing tools.
Okay. Thank you, Keisha.
4:30 a.m. Thanks. Hey, if you
Shane.
watching for the first time tonight, or if you are joining us for a repeat, thanks for watching tonight. And check out next week sometime. We will post a video that has the end of this fly on it.
That's right. And Shane, it is good to see you on the Instagram. It is awesome to see you here. Just hold it right with the things. That's where it's going to focus. Right.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
And sorry, if you're on Instagram, come over and watch us on YouTube. We'll answer all the questions on the YouTube.
So I'll condition the hair, and then I'm going to go and do another trim, get down a little bit deeper in this. And but that's basically it, guys. And then we'll add some silly legs to it, some eyes and silly legs, and a little bit more trimming. But that's basically it. This will fish the way it is right now, like this, and a bass will eat it just like this, versus the way it's finished with the eyes. But we'll make it look nice with the eyes.
So you can show the side camera. You can show the good side view here. Perfect. So you can see how the tail and everything worked out.
And the skirt looks
And
really
the
good.
skirt. Thank you, Gary. And Ruby Tuesday 11. Hopefully you've emailed us your address. So when we get this done, we'll send it out to you. Thanks, Mama. And Jim Cannon. Thank you so much.
Are we close to the end here?
Yep.
We got
are.
another hour. Thank you, John and Kate, for having me on this show.
So glad you came.
So, what a pleasure. And I love it out here. And conveniently, I get out here fairly often. And so I get to fish and hang out with John and Kate
And you're
fairly
on
often.
Instagram.
Yeah. How do people get in touch with you if they don't know?
Instagram, Rowley Benchwork, just Jeff Rowley on Facebook. And my YouTube, I haven't put out I haven't put a lot of videos out on my YouTube in about it's been over a year, but we are working on some new videos, so it's going to take a little while. So Rowley Benchwork on both YouTube and Instagram, Jeff Rowley on Facebook.
Got it.
And Sean West, I'm glad you found us as well. Thanks, Bill. And if anyone wants to go fishing this weekend in East Tennessee, give Jeff or I a shout.
Hey, there's Todd Turner got in here. Todd, my buddy.
Awesome. Yes. I will be out of town, so John and Jeff need people to hang out with.
Yeah, let's go fishing.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you all have a great night. I hope you tie some flies. And if you have any questions about the show tonight, please send us a message at DemuthFlyFishing@gmail.com or reach out to us on Instagram at Demuth_flyfishing. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night, guys. See you soon.